Let's talk about the kidnappings. Children in Nigeria are being abducted from schools, often hundreds of boys and girls at a time.
More than 300 schoolgirls have been kidnapped.
Still Boko Haram. If you're a Muslim, you're a target. If you're a Christian, you're a target. They slaughter people like animals.
Your wife, she
captured by Boko Haram.
We just got word that the Mi-24 Hind is going on Operation Prayer Support.
I want to fight for my country. And if I die for my country, I know I die for my country.
We're gonna head down that IED-laden road for the final assault into Bama.
The chilling rise of Boko Haram. Why they target women and children. They kidnap children and turn them into killers. They force mothers to watch their daughters become slaves.
They used to train girls how to shoot guns. I was among the girls trained to shoot. I was also trained how to use bombs and how to attack a village.
They claim to be warriors of faith, but their actions are a dark, unrelenting stain on humanity.
The Nigerian military says it has rescued 30,000 women and children from Boko Haram in the last 2 years.
This is Boko Haram, the terror group the world seems powerless to defeat. What makes them so untouchable? Why has their reign of terror lasted so long? Let's uncover the truth.
You see the enemies among the children. It's accepted to fire all of them. You cannot go into differentiate children's. You understand?
In an era dominated by high-tech intelligence, drone warfare, and international coalitions, how does a group like Boko Haram continue to exist, let alone thrive? While their name may not headline global news every day, their actions have left scars across Nigeria and its neighboring regions.
The West African nation has been thrust into the spotlight in recent years for the wrong reason: the rise of the Islamic militant group Boko Haram.
Scars that refuse to heal. Boko Haram's rise and persistence are not just about violence. They are about a deeply rooted system of fear, manipulation, and exploitation. But who are they really? Why do they target women and children with such calculated brutality? And how do they manage to stay steps ahead of some of the world's most powerful nations?
The U.S. is sending military and law enforcement advisors to Nigeria to help in the search for more than 200 teenage girls who were kidnapped from their school last month. Islamic extremists claim they took the girls and planned to sell them into slavery.
Today, we peel back the layers of this chilling organization, exposing its methods, its mindset, and the system that enables it. This isn't just a story of terrorism, it's a story of systemic failure, human resilience, and the cost of neglecting those at the margins of society.
لو بس تسمع صوتها، تسمع صرخاتها، هي تقول يا أمي ساعدني، يا أمي. بالكردي كانت تقول دادا دادا، ماما ماما.
To understand Boko Haram's horrifying tactics, you need to understand their victims. Women and children are not merely collateral damage in their war. They are the war. They are pawns in a game of psychological warfare, tools to send a chilling message to the world. The 2014 abduction of 276 schoolgirls in Chibok shocked the world.
2 years ago today, the Islamic terrorist group Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls in Nigeria.
But here's the unsettling truth. That was only one chapter in a much larger, darker story. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of similar kidnappings have gone unnoticed, unreported, or ignored.
Like millions of people across the globe, my husband and I are outraged and heartbroken over the kidnapping of more than 200 Nigerian girls.
For every Chibok, there are countless other villages where girls vanish, their futures stolen in the dead of night. These girls are forced into so-called marriages with fighters.
A man claiming to be the leader of Boko Haram has denied a ceasefire announced by the Nigerian government, instead alleging the 219 schoolgirls kidnapped in April have been married off.
subjected to unspeakable abuse. Some are trained to become weapons themselves, strapped with explosives and sent into crowded markets, schools, and places of worship. Imagine the terror. A child, unaware or unwilling, walking toward her own death, taking innocent lives with her. To Boko Haram, these children are expendable.
The United Nations says the terror group Boko Haram is increasingly using children as suicide bombers. In northeastern Nigeria, 27 suicide bombers have already carried out attacks this year, compared to 26 for all of last year. Boko Haram abducts children and women in Nigeria weekly.
But to their families, they are irreplaceable. And the mothers? They are forced to watch, powerless, as their daughters are taken, their sons turned into soldiers of terror. Can you imagine the agony of a parent in such a moment?
We enter the school, there is nothing. All the school has been burned. We saw some of their pieces of their clothes and their slippers on the way, just like this. A sign.
A child's scream, a mother's tears. These are not just stories. These are realities. So, the question remains, why hasn't Boko Haram been defeated?
The re-emergence of Boko Haram under Shekau's leadership marked one of the first times when authorities claimed to have defeated Boko Haram, only for the group to resurface.
With billions of dollars spent on counterterrorism and armies equipped with the latest technology, why does this group continue to operate with such impunity? The first answer lies in their geography. Boko Haram thrives in the vast, unforgiving terrains of northeastern Nigeria and neighboring regions, areas that are difficult to police and even harder to navigate. These dense forests and arid lands act as natural fortresses, hiding them from aerial surveillance and ground forces. But terrain alone cannot explain their resilience.
And the gallant soldiers on the ground, yes, everything is moving fine, and you can see.
The second factor is corruption. Billions of dollars intended to combat terrorism often disappear into the pockets of corrupt officials. Arms meant for soldiers are sold off. Intelligence is leaked. This corruption feeds the chaos, creating an environment where groups like Boko Haram flourish.
There must be a danger that this problem is going to increase rather than disappear.
And then there's poverty, an invisible ally to terror. In regions where opportunities are scarce, desperation becomes a currency. Boko Haram exploits this.
And in which we have laser light, that at night I can blind Boko Haram without firing him.
Why is the laser light?
This is the laser light.
The grim reality of war dawns on you in the front line, as well as the human costs of war.
Offering young men a purpose, no matter how twisted. For many, joining the group is not a choice, it's survival.
They accepted their ideology, they accepted the belief of establishing a theocratic Islamic state, and all the people who joined him, even though Muhammad was attending to their needs, he was providing some social services to them, the core reason why most of them joined is the ideology.
But perhaps the most unsettling weapon in Boko Haram's arsenal is their ideology, a distorted interpretation of religion that glorifies violence and martyrdom.
Well, anatomy of one attack is the first time that we go behind the scene to see how Boko Haram planned their attacks and how they carry it out. But also we saw the frustration they get into when they were not able to succeed in one of their attacks.
To them, fear is power. Fearlessness, even in the face of death, is their ultimate weapon. It's not just about territory or resources, it's about breaking spirits, crushing hope. This ideology is infectious, spreading like a virus in communities already fractured by poverty and neglect. They indoctrinate children, turning victims into perpetrators. The cycle continues, feeding their ranks while devastating the moral fabric of entire generations. Boko Haram's story is not just a Nigerian problem, it's a global lesson.
This organization, Boko Haram, has been one of the worst regional or local terrorist organizations in the world.
A stark reminder of what happens when corruption, poverty, and extremism intersect. They've exploited every crack in society to build an empire of fear.
I had the explosion, bam! Very heavy explosion.
And while governments fight them with guns and drones, the real battle, the battle for education, opportunity, and justice, remains largely neglected. Until those cracks are sealed, the cycle of terror will continue. We cannot expect lasting peace if the roots of conflict remain untouched.
Does nothing, then they get away with this, then we set this horrible precedent. So I think it's extremely important that something is done immediately to try to find these girls, to try to bring them home. And God forbid we can't, we have to still bring these men to justice.
The world must ask itself, how many more daughters must disappear? How many more mothers must bury their children? How many lives must be lost before we recognize that this fight isn't just military, it's humanitarian?
Nigeria's government has repeatedly said it has defeated Boko Haram. Yet after more than 10 years of fighting the armed group, violence is on the rise in the northeast. Boko Haram is suspected of being behind an attack on Saturday that's described as the most violent on civilians this year.
Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share this video, spark a conversation, and help bring these untold stories into the light. Subscribe for more deep dives into the shadows of our world. Together, we can shine a light on the darkest corners and fight for a better tomorrow.